Hi, it's Jordan Teen 1, and in today's video I'll be showing you how to make this really pretty carnation flower. So I have two examples here, and today we're going to be making the purple and white one. So here's what it looks like from the top and then from the underneath. I did not add leaves to mine, but you can certainly do that if you'd like. And then here it is with the pink and the fuchsia together. So I think either way it looks really nice. And of course you can choose any color combination that you have available to you. And with Mother's Day coming up this weekend, I think it would be a perfect gift to give to your mom. Or really it would be a nice gift for anyone. Or you can even make them for yourself and keep them. I think it would make a really pretty decoration if you did a bunch of these and put them in a vase. To make your carnation, you're going to need a hook of some sort. So I'm going to be using the Rainbow Loom metal hook, but you can use a crochet hook or whatever you have available. And then I am going to be using a twist tie to help start my magic ring, but this is optional. And then I have 3 pipe cleaners that I'm going to use for my stem. And then as far as your band counts go, you're going to need about 65 green bands. And this could vary depending on how long you want your stem to be. And then I have 165 white bands. And again, this can vary by a few bands depending on how many you need to pull together your center. And then I have 64 of the purple. I'm going to begin by making my magic ring. So I have a total of 9 rubber bands here. So I'm going to be doing 8 into my magic ring, and I am going to be using a twist tie to help me get started, but if you don't have one, it's not a big deal. You don't absolutely need it. It just makes it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to place this next to my hook, and I'm going to take my first band, and usually I triple my center band, but this time I'm only going to double it. So I'm just going to place it on, twist, put it back on. So it is going to be kind of loose. You'll have the 2 loops. And then if you are using a twist tie, just pull it up and bend it in half. And that's just going to help link those 2 loops together. If not, you'll just use your fingers to pinch those 2 bands. And then I have 8 more bands here I'm going to pull through. So I'm going to do one at a time. So it goes through, back on your hook. One end will pull through the other. And then I'm going back in. Make sure you're going in through the same side every time, so I'm always going in the front. Pull through my second band, get it back on my hook. I have the 3 loops, and the one on the end slides through the other 2. Just going to work my way around here doing that same thing. So it comes through, back on, you have 3 loops, and the one pulls through the others. So with the band doubled, it definitely is a lot looser in the center as opposed to when it's tripled. And the reason that I decided to double this is just because we're going to be adding the stem. So I just wanted to have a little extra room. And I think I'm going to take my twist tie out now since I have a nice base here to hold on to. So I'm just continuing to go in through that center. This is my last one. And now what I'm going to do is take a clip of some sort. I have an S-clip here, and I'm just going to attach it to my rubber band just so I know that's where I ended that row. In row 2, I'll be using 8 rubber bands, and I'm just doing 1 single crochet in each one of the stitches. So a stitch is the 2 loops here that make like a sideways V, and you want to make sure that you're going in through the front every time. So I'm just going to take my hook and slide under those 2 loops, make sure you're going through both, and I'm going to take 1 single band. It's going to pull through, go back on your hook. So again, you're dealing with the 3 loops, and 1 pulls through the other 2. So that's one single crochet in that stitch, and then I'm moving to the next stitch over to the left. So this next little sideways V, go under both, and then I'm just pulling it through and doing that single crochet. So again, I'm just doing one in each. And I'm going to start out kind of slowly, but I am going to pick up the pace. So hopefully everyone will be able to follow along okay. And if you feel like I'm going a little bit too fast or you're falling behind, you can always just pause the video until you're caught up. And now my last band here should go in my last stitch, and that's always going to be the one where your clip is. That's your last stitch. So I'm going under those two loops and pulling this last one through. And now I want to just take this clip off and attach it to the band that's around my hook, just so I know it's my last one in that second row. For row 3, you'll need 16 bands, and I'm going to be doing what I'm calling a half double crochet, one in each stitch. So I know that different designers may do this a little bit differently, but for me, I'm considering this the half double. So let me just show you what I mean here. We are going to this next stitch over to the left, and you're going through like regular. I'm going to take my first pile here, and I'm going to pull through the first band and get it back on my hook. So I have these two on the end that I just pulled through, and then this last one that I actually have my finger on just to keep it separate for the moment. And now I'm going to take my second band, and this time I want to pull it through all three on my hook. So I'm grabbing it, and this one goes through all three and back on. So when you're doing that single crochet, you're left with just one band on your hook every time. But for this, I'm going to be having two bands left over every time. So that was the first one. I'm just going over to this next stitch and repeat. So you're pulling through the first one, getting it back on your hook. And from this point on, you're going to have 4 rubber bands on your hook to pull through this second band. So here's my second one, and it's pulling through all 4 and back on. So you're always going to be left with the 2. Moving over, going to pull through the first one and back on. So I have the 4 loops, and then 1 is going to pull through the other 4. So I'm on to my next stitch, pulling through the 1, and then the second one pulls through all. So this is just going to make this a little bit taller and fill it out a little bit more. So we have 3 sets left here. And then I have one last set. And now this time you are going to end with 2 bands on your hook. So I'm just going to move my clip, and I'm going to attach it around both of these bands. In row 4, I'll be using 32 white bands, and I'm going to be doing that half double crochet, so I need 2 bands for each one of those, and then I'm doing 2 in every stitch. So you're going to have a total of 16 stitches when you're done. But as I said, we're doing 2 bands for each one of those half doubles. So I'm going to go over to this next one here. If you look to the top, we're already through this one here. It helps if you look over to the side to know which one that you went through if you're a little bit confused. So it's this next one here. I'm pushing through that stitch and I'm going to pull my first band through. Now since I am switching colors, I am going to pull through all 4 of the green and get this back on my hook. And then I'm taking a second white and pulling that through. Now I want to go through that same stitch again since we're doing 2 in each. So back through, pulling through the first one, I have my 4 loops, and the second one is going to pull through all 4. Moving over to my next stitch, I'm going to do that first one, and then back through that same stitch for my second. So hopefully you're getting the hang of this half double crochet stitch. It's really not too difficult. If you find that when you're pulling your bands through those 4 loops that your hook is wanting to get caught, I would suggest pulling downward as you're pulling it through. That just helps to open up those loops so it doesn't catch as easily. So this is definitely going to widen this out, you'll notice. So we have 3 more stitches here to get through. I tried a lot of different patterns when I was trying to make this carnation, and this is the one I settled on. I did have a much more elaborate one that used many more rubber bands, but I thought it just got too big and too top heavy really, because the weight of the bands was just so much compared to the sturdiness of the stem. So here's my last stitch where the clip is. So that's one, and then back through for the second. And now again, I'm just going to move my clip here. Going to put it around both of these rubber bands, or both of these loops. In row 5, you're going to need a total of 192 bands. So this is not all of the bands that you'll need. I just have a few laid out because it's just too many to fit on the screen. And so I'm using 2 different colors. So I'll be using 128 white and then 64 purple. So for this part, we're going to be working 4 double crochets into every stitch. So that's why we need so many rubber bands. So I'm going to do the first several with you, and then I'm going to let you finish it out on your own just because it's just going to be very repetitive and I don't want the tutorial to get super long. So I have my bands laid out in piles of 3. So I have the 2 white and then the 1 purple. Whatever your accent color is, if you're using one, should be the last band placed on. So again, this is my interpretation of a double crochet, and up until now for the last couple rows we were doing half double crochet. So all we're doing is adding an additional band. So you can see what we have here. I'm going to go over to the left here, and I'm going to go through my next stitch, and I'm going to take my first band, and even though we're not changing color, I am going to go through all 4 to make that slip stitch, just to link these together, otherwise you'll have a gap there. So I pulled through 1, now I'm going to pull through a second, and then I'm going to pull through a third. So this is where it's different, and this is where I have my accent color, so it's on the outer edge. And then you're going to have the 2 loops on your hook, and I'm going in the same stitch again, so I'm going through from the front, and I'm going to do my second one. So I'm pulling through my first band, a second band, and then for my third band it's going to pull through all 4 on my hook. So I have 2 of the white and also 2 of the purple. It's going to slide through all 4 and back on. I'm going through that same stitch again, so I'm pulling through 1, 2, and then the third one pulls through all 4. And then I have one more set for the same stitch. It is going to get pretty full. So that's 1, 2, and then the last one goes through all. So the reason that we're putting so many in each one of these stitches is because we want it to start bunching up and curling to give it that carnation look. So now I'm on to my next stitch over. And I'm just going to do that same pattern. So I have my first, second, and then the last one goes through all. And then back through the same one. And through all. Now back for the third time. And then one more set. You can see how it's already starting to bunch up. And then through all. So we've gotten through 2 stitches here, and you can see how it's going to start to fold in on itself. And then I have my last one here that I'm going to show you, and then I will just fast forward. So that's 1, 2, and don't hesitate to just sort of push these down out of the way if you need to, because the more that you get on, the fuller that it's going to get, especially when you get near the end, when you're almost done. It's going to be overflowing with bands. And then through the same stitch one more time. So you can see how it's starting to look. And so you can pause your video here and then just continue making the rest of this round here with 4 of these double crochets in every single stitch. Now I've completed all of my double crochets and I'm to the end here. And so what I'm going to do is take one additional purple band, or whatever your outer color is. I'm going to go through the first purple stitch here. So I'll have 4 loops on my hook. Just going to pull this last band through all 4, get it back on my hook, and then pull one end through the other and make a really nice and tight slip knot so that doesn't come apart. And then you're just going to have to hide this. So you just want to take your hook and go through some of these purple stitches here. Just try and get it to blend in. So I'm just going to go through the center. And pull this loop through. And let me just go through a couple more here. So just go through as many as you need till it looks like it's pretty blended in there. So here's what it looks like. It's very ruffly, but you can still see down through to the middle. So what we want to do is close this off and get it to stay together like this so it makes that design that we want. So I'm going to take some additional white bands. I have 5 here. And I'm just going to attach these so this tacks the petals together so it forms more of the shape that we want for the carnation. So you can see here how it's naturally making this curvy shape. So I'll start here where one of the tops is, and I'm going to go through the lower white bands. So I'm just going to do 2 at a time. I'll go through these 2 bands, and then I'll see how I want it to curve, and then it's going to come back up right around here. So I'll pick up 2 more white bands. And then I'm taking my additional band and I'm going to pull through those 4 loops and get it back on my hook. And then, let me see here, it looks like maybe right about here I'll go through. Taking another white, going to pull through just the first 2, get it back on my hook. So I have 4 loops. And then I want the 2 on the end to pull through the other 2. That's just going to give it a tighter look there. And then, let's see where I want the next one to come in, maybe right over here. Again, I'm just going through the first 2, getting it back on, and then the 2 on the end pull through the other 2. And let's see, over here I'll pick up some bands. Looks like I went through 3 loops. I'm just going to go through 2. And then one more time here. Let's see, let me bend this. Go right here. And let me just grab a couple more white. I'm going to just go through some of these ones in the middle here. I just need to close this off. So just pull through here. Again, I'm just going to take 2 through the other. And maybe right here. And then I'll take 1 more, and I need to tie this off, so let me just go through 1 more band here, pull it through the 3, and make a really nice and tight slip knot. I don't want that to come apart. And then I'm going to just reach up through the opening in the bottom here grab this rubber band and pull it down through so that it's hidden. It didn't make it all the way quite down there. Let's try that again. There we go. So if you think that it's not quite closed enough, you can always just add some more bands and tack it where you think it needs to be. But basically, that is the flower part is finished. Now for the stem, I'm going to be using pipe cleaners, and I have about half of a pipe cleaner here because I use the other half for my other flower, and I have 3 of them. So the first thing I'm going to do is take these 3 and I want to twist them together. So I just use 3 instead of 1 just to give it a little bit more support and stability. Just going to twist this all the way down here. And probably I'm not even going to use this whole length for the stem. I might shorten it up a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is put the flower on the pipe cleaners. So you should have a nice hole that they can go up through. Don't stick it up so far that it pokes through, but you want to get it on there a little ways. And then I'm going to use my additional green bands to wrap the pipe cleaner. And I am going to be using 2 at a time. It's going to be the same technique that I used for my spiral cord cover, and then also I did a shamrock and a heart with pipe cleaners that I covered this way. So it's really pretty simple. So first I want to link these together. So I'm just going to take my hook and I'm going to go through some of the bands here at the bottom, and then I want to go through some on the other side, but I want to make sure that my hook is behind the pipe cleaners. So let me just get behind here and then go through some on the other side. I'm going to take my first 2 rubber bands and I'm going to pull them through. So let me just tilt it so you can see. It's going to come through that side and then come out the other side. Go back on my hook, and the 2 are going to pull through the other 2. And you want to push that up as close to the top as you can. And from now on, I'm just going to be reaching my hook underneath every time, taking 2 rubber bands at once, grabbing them, pulling them under the pipe cleaners, back over top, and then getting them on my hook. And before you loop it, you just want to make sure that these bands are up as close as they can be, and that there's as little pipe cleaner showing through as possible. And then you're just pulling through the first 2 bands, and then also through the second 2. And then if you see any pipe cleaner sticking through, you can just carefully try and move those up. I mean, inevitably you are going to have a little bit of fuzz sticking through. And then back underneath, picking up your next 2, they get pulled under, and then the other side gets on, and then here you want to do any adjusting before you actually loop them. It's a little bit easier to do because the bands are looser. Then you're pulling through all 4 on your hook, so I like to go through the first 2, and then I twist my hook in the opposite direction to go through the next 2. I found that's just about the easiest way to do it. Again, underneath. The next 2 get pulled under, back on your hook, then you can slide them up, and then go through all 4 loops. And again, if you see a little bit of fuzz, you can try and adjust these. Just push them up with your fingernail. And I also like to twist this, so if you keep doing it the same, the one side, the pattern here where they connect, it's going to stick up a little more, it's going to be all on one side. And if you want to change that, all you have to do is just twist this as you're forming it, and it'll make that really cool spiral look. So you're just going to keep working until you have the length of the stem done that you like. So I'm just going to fast forward here. Now I've decided that my stem is long enough, so I'm not going to continue wrapping this with the bands. So I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut this off at the bottom. Just want to be careful not to actually cut my rubber bands. And then I'm going to take an additional band, just going to pull it through, get it back on and make a slip knot here. And then I'm going to take the 2 loops from that doubled band and put that on there. And then I'm going to take my last loop here and I'm just going to wrap it around here several times. Just to make sure that it's on there pretty securely, it's not going to come apart. I would say probably about 3 times. And then your flower is complete. So here it is. I think it turns out really cool. And you can see I twisted this. So it has this cool spiral design on the stem. And then here's the other one that I showed you at the beginning with the 2 different shades of pink. So I think they're really pretty and they're a great gift for Mother's Day or really for any occasion. You can just decorate your house for spring, just brighten it up a little bit. I hope that everyone loves their new carnation flowers. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!